if the version of you living right now is only a shadow of who you were meant to be? Think about that for a second. Let it sink in. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's real. Every single day, you wake up with the potential to step into power, purpose, and growth. But most people won't. Not because they can't, but because they've been convinced it's not the right time. That they're not ready. That maybe their dreams are too big for the life they were given. But that's the lie. See, deep down, you know there's more inside you. More drive, more strength, more courage. It's not a fantasy. It's not something outside of you. It's already in you, buried under fear, self-doubt, and the noise of the world telling you to stay quiet, stay small, stay in line. But what if you stopped listening? What if today was the day you stopped settling for less and started becoming more? There comes a moment in every person's life where they feel it, the pull. That silent voice whispering that this isn't all there is. That you were made for more than waking up, grinding through the day and going to bed with that ache in your chest. That quiet pain of knowing you're capable of something greater, but you're not living it. And it hurts. Not like a sharp pain. Not like something you can point to and explain. It's deeper than that. It's the ache of untapped potential, the weight of dreams you keep putting off, the regret that hasn't happened yet but will if you don't change something. That's why this moment matters, because it's not just another video. It's not just another voice in your headphones. This is the mirror, the one moment where you stop running from yourself and ask the question you've been avoiding.
What am I doing with my life?
And more importantly, who am I becoming? You see, there are two versions of you. One is the version the world sees, the one that shows up every day, does what's expected, keeps the peace, keeps quiet, keeps surviving. And then there's the version that wakes you up at night, the version you dream of when no one's watching, the one that's bold, relentless, focused, free. That version, it doesn't just exist in your imagination, it's real. But it takes a decision, a choice to stop living on autopilot, to stop playing small just to keep others comfortable, to stop letting fear decide your future. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep being who you've always been. That's the brutal truth. Nothing changes if you don't. Your best self won't come knocking. You have to become them through struggle, through discipline, through decisions no one else sees but you. That path is not easy, it's not quick, but it's worth it. Because what's the alternative? Waking up 10 years from now, looking in the mirror, and realizing you're still stuck in the same cycle? Still dreaming, still hoping, still talking about what could have been? No, that's not your story. That can't be your story. Because if you choose to listen, if you feel this moment and decide that enough is enough, you unlock a future that most people never will. You unlock the version of you that walks with purpose, that speaks with confidence, that doesn't back down when things get hard. You become the kind of person who inspires others just by how you live, not with words, but with action, with presence, with consistency. That's the reward. That's the reason to stay in the fight. Because you don't just change your own life, you start changing lives around you. Your energy becomes contagious, your focus becomes magnetic, your growth becomes undeniable. And all of that starts now. Not when you're ready. Not when it's perfect. Now. In this breath, in this moment, with this choice. So ask yourself again, what if the version of you living right now is only a shadow of who you were meant to be? And then answer it not with words, but with action. You weren't born to settle. You weren't created to just survive. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced you that dreaming big was dangerous. That being different was risky. That wanting more meant you were ungrateful. But none of that is true. What's dangerous is living a life that's not yours. What's risky is wasting the one chance you have trying to be what others expect. You were never meant to blend in. That fire you feel inside when you hear the truth, that's not coincidence. That's not random. That's the real you, trying to break through the surface. You were born with purpose, with gifts, with a calling louder than the noise around you. But over time, the world taught you to silence it, to dim your light, to trade your fire for approval. And it worked, didn't it? They told you to play it safe, to follow the rules, get in line, be realistic. Don't ask for too much. Don't dream too loud. Just do what everyone else is doing and maybe you'll be okay. Maybe you'll survive. But here's the truth. You weren't born to survive. You were born to thrive. You were built for growth, for greatness, for impact. That burning inside you, that's not something to hide. That's something to honor. Because the greatest tragedy is not falling short of your goals. It's never having the courage to chase them. It's living every day as a watered-down version of who you could be, just so you don't shake the world too much. But greatness was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to challenge you, stretch you, test you, and in the process, reveal you. You've been told to wait. Wait for permission. Wait for the right time. Wait until you're ready. But here's what nobody tells you: there is no perfect time. There is no moment when fear disappears, when doubt leaves, when everything lines up and you suddenly feel invincible. That moment never comes. You have to move through the fear. You have to take action while your hands still shake. You have to speak up when your voice still trembles. Because courage isn't loud, it's quiet consistency in the face of resistance. Stop waiting for someone to come save you. Stop waiting for signs, for validation, for guarantee. You are not a victim. You are not stuck. You are not helpless. You are powerful. You are capable. And the life you want is waiting for you to stop hesitating and start believing. But to step into that life, you have to let go of the story you've been sold. The one that says, this is just the way it is. The one that says, people like me don't do things like that. You have to rewrite that story. You have to grab the pen and become the author of your own destiny. Because if you don't, someone else will keep writing chapters that were never meant for you. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. Before fear wrapped itself around your dreams. Before failure made you shrink. Before you forgot your own power. Remember that kid who believed they could do anything? Who didn't care what anyone thought? Who jumped? Who tried? Who believed? That version of you still exists. You didn't lose them. You just buried them under years of doubt and disappointment. But they're still there, and it's time to bring them back. This is your chance to reclaim your life, to reject the limits others placed on you, to silence the lies and awaken the truth that you are enough, that you have what it takes, that your dreams were planted inside you for a reason, and that reason wasn't to torment you, it was to guide you. Don't waste another day living as a version of yourself created by fear. Burn the mask. Drop the act. Walk in your truth even if your voice shakes, even if people don't understand, even if the path is uncertain, because every step you take in truth pulls you closer to freedom, closer to impact, closer to the life you deserve. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need you. You need one spark, one moment of clarity, one decision that says, I'm done pretending, I'm done hiding, I'm becoming who I was born to be. And once you make that choice, everything changes. Not all at once, not overnight, but within you. Your mindset shifts, your energy changes, your actions align. And little by little, you start becoming unstoppable, not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger. That's where your power lives, in the decision to be real, to be bold, to be you fully and unapologetically. Not the version that fits in, but the version that stands out. The version that leads. The version that doesn't follow fear, but follows fire. And if you hold that fire long enough, if you feed it with courage and discipline, you will become the kind of person who changes the world just by showing up as themselves. You already know who you could be. You've seen glimpses of that person in your imagination, in your dreams, in those rare moments of clarity when something inside you rises and says, this is who I really am. You felt the energy, the focus, the power. It's not a fantasy. It's a memory of your true self trying to break through the noise. And if you felt it even once, then you know it's real. That version of you exists, and it's waiting for you to show up. But first, you have to face what's holding you back. And that's not the world. It's not your past. It's not the people who doubted you or the mistakes you made. What's holding you back is the belief that you need to become someone else to succeed, that you need to fix something before you're worthy, that you're not enough yet. But the truth is, the real transformation doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what doesn't belong. The fear, the guilt, the lies, the need for approval. None of that is you, and none of it ever was. You don't need to chase worthiness. You were born with it. What you need is to remember who you are without the fear, to strip away the noise and get quiet enough to hear your own fire again, because it's still burning, even if it's buried, even if it's faint, even if life tried to smother it with disappointment and pain. The flame is still there. And the moment you stop denying it, stop doubting it, stop hiding it, that's the moment everything starts to change. The first step isn't a strategy. It's not a plan. It's permission. You have to give yourself permission to want more, to aim higher, to believe fully and unapologetically that you're capable of becoming something greater than what the world expects. Because the second you stop asking for permission from others, you start taking control of your future. This isn't about ego. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the person your soul has been quietly calling you to be. The person who doesn't shrink to fit, who doesn't keep their brilliance locked away because it makes others uncomfortable. You weren't meant to live small. You weren't meant to play a role. You were meant to become a force, a presence, a voice that doesn't ask to be heard. It demands it, by the way. It moves, lives, and leads. That doesn't mean it'll be easy. Growth never is. Becoming your best self will require you to let go of things that once felt safe. Comfort zones, old habits, even people. And yes, it will hurt. but staying the same hurts too. And only one of those paths leads to freedom. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable, to feel the stretch, to do the work no one sees, because that's where transformation happens, in the silence, in the grind, in the moments where quitting feels easier, but you don't. That's how the best version of you is built, not in front of an audience, but behind closed doors when no one's clapping, no recognition, just discipline. This version of you will not arrive by accident. It must be created, shaped, forged. And it starts with what you choose to do when no one's watching. It starts with how you talk to yourself, how you carry yourself, how you show up every single day, even when motivation fades, especially when it fades, because motivation is a spark. But discipline is the flame. And once that flame starts to grow, it becomes impossible to ignore. That's the power of alignment. You start doing things not because you have to, but because they match who you are becoming. You wake up earlier not because it's trendy, but because your goals matter. You train harder, speak clearer, move with intention, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. It's your new standard, your new normal. That's the reward. That's the shift. You stop fighting to become someone new. And instead, you remember who you've been all along. And when you align with that truth, you become unstoppable, not because the world changes, but because you do. Your thoughts change. Your energy changes. Your environment starts to reflect the new version of you, not because of luck, but because of clarity. You no longer accept less from yourself,
From others.
from life. And when that happens, when you stop negotiating with mediocrity and start demanding more from yourself, you begin to attract the life you've always wanted. Not through magic, through ownership, through choice, through daily, quiet, relentless action. That's where your greatness lies. Not out there, not someday, but in you, right now, waiting to be claimed. So the question is no longer, can you become the best version of yourself? The real question is, when will you stop pretending you're not already on your way? There comes a moment when excuses no longer feel comforting, when the reasons you've been telling yourself start to sound like lies. I'm too busy. It's not the right time. Maybe later. But deep down, you know the truth. Later is a trap. Later becomes never. And if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Every dream, every goal, every version of your highest self is standing behind a door called action. And action doesn't wait for clarity, it creates it. The longer you hesitate, the heavier regret becomes. You weren't made to live in hesitation. You were made to move, to build, to grow. You were born to be the architect of your own future. And it doesn't matter where you've been, it matters where you decide to go from here. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again. But you have to choose. Not wish, not hope. Choose. Because every powerful life is built on decisions, not dreams. And if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of waiting for something to change, then you have to become the one who changes. Change doesn't come from a place of comfort. It comes from a decision to step into the unknown, to do the thing even when it scares you, even when it stretches you, even when no one claps for you. Especially then, because most people will never understand your vision until it becomes impossible to ignore. So don't live for their validation. Don't chase applause. Chase alignment. Chase that feeling you get when your actions match your value, when your daily habits reflect your future, not your fears. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you could be. And no, it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up anyway, day after day, moment after moment, making choices that are hard simply because they matter. That's where strength is born, in the repetition, in the process, in the quiet moments where you could quit but don't. That's how confidence is built, not by waiting to feel ready, but by doing the hard thing and proving to yourself that you're capable, that you're resilient, that you can be trusted with your own future. The best version of you isn't someone else, it's you, on the other side of your limits, the side you reach when you stop negotiating with your weakness and start honoring your potential. Your mind will resist. It will tell you it's too much, that you've tried before, that it's not worth the effort. But those thoughts aren't truth, they're protection, a safety mechanism designed to keep you comfortable. But you weren't built for comfort. You were built for evolution. You were built to stretch, to rise, to overcome. You are more than your doubts, more than your fears, more than the stakes that tried to define you. Start proving it, not to others, to yourself. Because once you trust your own voice again, once you stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself a mission, everything changes. You begin to move with clarity. You begin to speak with intention. You begin to carry yourself like someone who knows they're becoming someone powerful. And yes, people might question you. They might not understand your shift. That's okay. They weren't called to your journey. You were. Stop explaining your fire to people who are still afraid of their own spark. Protect your energy. Protect your vision. And most of all, Protect your standards, because the best version of you won't rise in a place of low expectations. Raise your standards and your life will follow. Demand more from yourself and watch how your environment shifts, not through force, but through frequency. When you operate on a higher level, the world responds. Doors open. Opportunities come, not because they were missing before, but because you couldn't see them until you leveled up. So stop waiting for things around you to change. You are the change. You are the shift. You are the fire the world needs to feel. And it starts with a decision. One honest, fearless decision to stop living beneath your potential, to stop delaying your greatness, to stop treating your dreams like optional side projects. They're not optional, they're essential. Because every day you spend hiding your greatness is a day the world goes without the impact only you can make. Every time you play small, you deny someone the inspiration your courage could have sparked. You weren't born to play small. You were born to rise, to lead, to stand tall in your truth and carry it with boldness, to build a life that reflects the strength you've always had but forgot how to trust. That strength is still there. So now is the moment. This is the turning point. No more waiting. No more shrinking. No more rehearsing the same excuses that once made sense but now feel like chains. Break them. Step forward. And start becoming the version of yourself you were always meant to be. Nothing changes until you do. You can read every book, watch every video, gather every tool, but if you don't act, if you don't decide to apply what you know, your life will stay exactly the same. Information isn't transformation. Action is. Real growth demands movement, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable, because that's where the shift happens. In the discomfort, in the discipline, in the choice to rise when everything in you says it's easier to fall back. And yes, the old version of you will try to pull you back, not because it's evil, but because it's familiar, safe, predictable. That voice in your head that says, you're not ready, or this won't work, or who do you think you are? That's not truth. That's resistance. That's the echo of your past trying to protect itself. But if you let that voice decide your future, you will never outgrow your history. You are not your past. You are not your mistake. You are not the pain you carried or the moments that broke you. You are the power that survived all of it. You are the one who got back up, even when it felt like everything was against you. You are the one still standing, still breathing, still fighting. And that means you still have a choice. You still have a say in how this story ends. So speak with power. Move with purpose. Choose with clarity. Because every time you choose growth over fear, you create a new future. Not just in theory, but in reality. Every moment of resistance you overcome is a brick laid in the foundation of your best self. And when those bricks stack up, when discipline meets consistency, you build something unshakable. You build identity. And identity is everything. Because you don't become who you want by wishing you become who you believe you are. If you keep identifying as someone who's trying, you'll always be stuck in the cycle of almost. And if it feels like no one sees your effort, good. Let that sharpen you. Let that fuel you. You don't need validation when you've got vision. You don't need praise when you've got purpose. Because the moment you realize that your growth is not about proving anyone wrong, but about proving yourself right, you unlock a power no one can take from you. That's the real shift. When your reasons become internal, when the fire comes from within, that's when you stop chasing results and start creating momentum. You start becoming the person who doesn't need external pressure to act, because the mission is the motivation. And when that switch flips, your life stops being reactive. It becomes intentional. And that's when you start separating from the crowd. That's when average can't keep up with you anymore. Because average makes excuses. Average waits for inspiration. Average says maybe someday. But you've already decided. You've drawn the line. You've said enough. Enough waiting. Enough doubting. Enough delaying what you know you're capable of. And when you decide like that fully, without looking back, you become dangerous to every excuse that ever held you down. You stop just surviving. You start leading. Not just others, yourself. Your energy changes. Your mindset sharpens. Your presence commands more. Not because you're louder, but because you've become someone who knows. Someone who walks with purpose. Who breathes belief. Who doesn't hope for change, but embodies it. That energy is contagious. That presence is rare. And when you show up like that, life starts responding differently. Because now you're aligned with a version of yourself that doesn't settle. That doesn't compromise. That doesn't dilute their passion just to make others comfortable. You rise, and everything around you is forced to rise with you. But understand this, not everyone will clap. Not everyone will understand, and that's okay. You're not doing this to be liked. You're doing this to be free. You're doing this to become whole. To live the life that's been calling you since the moment you first felt that inner spark. And you'll never silence that voice, not really. You can numb it. Distract yourself. Bury it under busy schedules and endless noise. But it always comes back. That whisper, that knowing, That sense that there's more inside you than what you've shown the world. That voice is truth. And the more you listen to it, the louder it gets, the clearer it becomes. Until one day, it's not a whisper anymore, it's a roar. A force that moves you forward no matter what stands in your way. And that's when everything changes. Not because the world suddenly makes it easier, but because you've changed. You've become the kind of person who doesn't need easy. Who chooses the hard path because you know what's waiting on the other side. You choose challenge because you've outgrown comfort. You choose discipline because you've tasted the strength it brings. You choose growth not once, not occasionally, but as a lifestyle, as a statement, as the legacy you leave behind. Because that's what this is about. Legacy. Not what you leave for the world, but what you leave in it. What you pour into every moment, every interaction, every breath. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what makes your life mean something. And it begins here. Now, with the next decision, the next habit, the next step forward into the fire, not to be burned, but to be forged. Because the best version of you isn't waiting. It's becoming. And it's calling you louder than ever. And it's calling you louder than ever, not with noise, but with clarity. The kind of clarity that cuts through the distractions, the doubt, the endless loop of waiting for the right time. There is no perfect moment. There is only now, this breath, this choice, this step. And in this moment, you either move forward or you hesitate. And hesitation is the enemy of greatness. You were not built to hesitate. You were built to move with boldness, to act in the face of fear, to push when the weight feels too heavy. That's how you grow. That's how you break limits, not by staying safe, but by stepping into uncertainty with courage as your compass. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that fear will not control you. That decision creates space. Space to rise. Space to expand. Space to build the version of you that isn't held back by the past or confined by old labels. And in that space, you start to feel it, the power that's been buried under years of doubt, setbacks, and self-comparison. It was never gone. It was never lost. It was just waiting for you to remember who you are. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to live on autopilot. You are not here to carry the weight of other people's expectations. You are here to lead. You are here to evolve. You are here to break through every wall that once convinced you to stay small. And that breakthrough doesn't start with a miracle. It starts with a mindset, a refusal, a decision so fierce that the old version of you has no choice but to step aside. Because you are choosing to upgrade your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions, your energy. No more speaking limitations into your future. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. No more waiting to feel ready. Ready is a lie. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel aligned. You need to feel that fire deep in your gut and honor it. That fire is your signal to move, to stop entertaining distractions disguised as comfort, to stop repeating patterns that keep you stuck. Because if you're tired of the cycle, it's time to interrupt it. Interrupt it with discipline, with vision, with standards that no longer tolerate mediocrity. That's how you elevate. Not once, not temporarily, but permanently. Because when your standards rise, your life rises. Not because things get easier, but because you get stronger. You build the endurance, the focus, the integrity to show up even when motivation fades. Because motivation is fleeting. But identity, that's lasting. And when you identify as the kind of person who shows up, who finishes you, begin to walk differently. You move with purpose. You think with intention. You speak with conviction. That level of alignment is magnetic. It attracts opportunities. It attracts growth. It attracts a life that reflects your new truth, that you are no longer waiting to become the best version of yourself, you are living it. Not because you've arrived, but because you've committed to the journey, fully, unapologetically. And that commitment is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Everyone has a dream, but not everyone has the discipline to see it through. The discipline to say no when it's tempting to quit. The discipline to stay focused when distractions scream louder than your goals. The discipline to keep walking when the results aren't visible yet because you trust that the work is working, even when no one's watching. That trust becomes your superpower. That internal certainty becomes your edge. Because when you know who you are, when you know where you're going, and you're willing to do the work to get there, nothing can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not fatigue. Because now you're not just showing up for the outcome. You're showing up because it's who you are. You don't train to impress. You train to transform. You don't build habits to get by. You build them to become. And with every rep, every choice, every step taken with intention, you're casting a vote for the life you were born to live. Not the life handed to you by circumstance. The life created by design. And design requires detail. It requires consistency. It requires you to act like the person you say you want to become before the world validates it. Because belief isn't reactive, it's proactive. You don't wait for evidence. You create it through your actions, through your mindset, through your relentless pursuit of something bigger than convenience. That's the level you're tapping into now. Not just changing habits, changing identity. Not just talking about growth, embodying it. And once you do, there's no going back, because you've seen what's possible. You felt the strength that comes from doing the hard thing. And you've realized that the real reward isn't just in what you get, it's in who you become in the process. You become focused, you become fearless, you become free. Not because life gets easier, but because you get better. And when you do, the world opens up. Not by accident, by alignment, by action, by owning your greatness without apology. Because you didn't come this far to settle. You came to elevate. And now you know what it takes. Elevation demands separation, not just from the habits that no longer serve you, but from the mindset that told you to stay quiet, stay small, stay safe. The best version of you cannot exist within the limits of your old identity. It needs space to breathe, space to move, space to expand. And that expansion begins the moment you stop negotiating with excuses. You weren't meant to live in survival mode. You were built for progress, for power, for purpose. But purpose doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Purpose moves through resistance. It speaks in action. It thrives in discomfort. And if you're feeling that tension right now, good. That means growth is trying to break through. That means the old you is being challenged. That means your higher self is knocking, and it's time to answer. This is where most people fold. Not because they're weak, but because they forget why they started. They lose sight of the mission and get swallowed by the moment. But not you. You've come too far to let temporary pain destroy permanent potential. You've sacrificed too much to let fear steal your future. You didn't wake up today just to repeat yesterday. You woke up to level up, to align your choices with the life you know you're capable of living. And you don't need anyone else to see that vision because it's yours. It was given to you for a reason, not to fantasize about, to manifest through action, through effort, through the relentless pursuit of better. Because better isn't a destination, it's a mindset, a decision. A lifestyle that refuses to coast. That doesn't allow comfort to become a cage. That understands that excellence is not owned, it's rented. And rent is due every day. So show up, not for perfection, for progress, not to impress, to improve. Every day you decide to act in alignment with your higher self. You're voting against doubt, against fear, against the false narrative that you're not enough. Because you are enough, not because you're flawless, but because you keep going. You keep showing up when it's hard. You keep moving when it's slow. You keep growing when it's painful. And that persistence, that hunger, that's what separates winners from wishers. That's what forges leaders. Not the ones who talk the loudest, but the ones who move with integrity when no one's watching. The ones who treat every day like it matters because it does. Every choice you make is shaping your future. Every thought you entertain is either building your vision or breaking it. And the moment you truly understand the power you hold in every decision, you stop outsourcing your destiny. You stop blaming the world and start becoming the answer. That's the shift. That's the moment everything changes, not because the world bends to your will, but because you rise above your limits. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start declaring, what if it does? You stop doubting your strength and start trusting your process. You stop shrinking and start owning your space. And when you own your space, you stop chasing validation. You stop bending for approval. You start walking with intention. You start creating with clarity. You stop being a prisoner of your past and become a product of your potential. Every setback becomes feedback. Every loss becomes fuel. Every delay becomes training, because you're no longer reacting, you're rebuilding. And that rebuild isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, spiritual. It's a full system upgrade. One that demands honesty, ownership, relentless discipline. Because greatness isn't reserved for the lucky, it's built by those who are willing to do what most won't. To show up when it's uncomfortable. To stay focused when it's boring. To keep going when no results are showing. You become dangerous when you stop needing motivation and start relying on discipline. When you stop negotiating with your goals. When you stop apologizing for your ambition because you realize that your dreams are not selfish, they're sacred. And protecting them becomes non-negotiable. You don't wait for opportunity, you prepare for it. You don't hope for results, you work for them. You don't wish for strength, you earn it through every rep, every sacrifice, every hard choice that shapes your character. And when you finally meet the version of yourself who has been waiting on the other side of resistance, you'll realize it was never about the external rewards. It was about remembering the truth. That you were never broken, just buried. That your light was never gone, just dimmed by fear. That your greatness was never absent, it was simply waiting for permission. And now it has it. Not from the world. From you. You've given yourself the permission to rise, to evolve, to lead, to become. And there is no force more powerful than a person who has decided to become unstoppable. Because once you've tasted the fire of purpose, you cannot go back to ordinary. You cannot unsee your potential. You cannot unknow your power. You either rise or you rust. And you didn't come this far to rust. You came to rebuild, to reclaim, to rise. There's a moment when it clicks, when the fog lifts and you see clearly not just who you've been, but who you're becoming. And in that moment, the noise fades, the doubt quiets, the fear shrinks, because you're no longer chasing validation, you're embodying truth. A truth that says, I am not my past. I am not my pain. I am not my limitations. I am potential in motion. I am power with purpose. I am the author now. This is the awakening. The instant you decide that the old script no longer applies, that you're done rehearsing weakness, done repeating the same tired storyline of fear, failure, and frustration, the old you hesitated, the old you second-guessed, the old you needed permission. But that version no longer runs the show, because now you've seen what happens when you choose action.